I stand in the entrance of Belmont's, my fingers clenching my leather bag. The golden light from the antique chandeliers illuminates the room, and I see them, laughing, wine glasses raised in some private celebration. My family. The maitre d' smiles warmly but practicedly. "What's your name, miss?" Before I can answer, my mother's voice pierces the room. "Ah, here she is, finally." All eyes turn to me. I feel the weight of strangers' attention as I walk, the click of my heels echoing on the marble. With every step. My black dress is simple, but well cut, the kind of outfit that conveys success without shouting about it. They're seated at the restaurant's most exclusive table, overlooking the city skyline, a place I've dreamed of one day being a part of. My mother, cousin Lucas, his wife, Brittany, the light glinting off the ruby of my mother's necklace, a gift from my father, before cancer took him during my sophomore year of college. I approach the table and stop, immediately noticing what they chose to ignore. There's no chair for me. Lucas is relaxed, one arm slung over the back of the chair and the other holding a glass of something gold and expensive. His mocking smile precedes his words. "This table is for the family," he says, without lowering his voice. "Go find a seat outside." The couple at the next table stops talking, their discomfort evident. "Don't take it personally, Rachel," Brittany says, venom disguised as sugar. "Lucas is just joking." But he's not, and we all know it. I say nothing, my face impassive as I pull out a chair from a nearby table. The sound of my legs scraping against the floor stands out against the soft music in the background. My mother doesn't meet my gaze. Helen Harrington, once the pillar of our family, is now just another vertebra bent to support Lucas's posture. She plays with her napkin, smoothing out an invisible crease. "You're late," she says finally, as if my 15-minute head start has destroyed years of family history. I sit in my scruffy chair. "Traffic," I reply, lying. The real reason. I sat in the car for 20 minutes, debating whether or not to come. Wouldn't be worth telling. As I watch them toast, a memory washes over me, clear and unexpected. 4 years ago. My childhood bedroom, now bare. Cardboard boxes containing everything I owned were stacked near the door. "This business idea is just another phase," my father had said, leaning against the door. Not angrily. Worse, disdainfully. "You'll come back," when reality sets in. That day, I moved into an apartment so small that the kitchen table became my first office. I worked 18 hours a day, ate microwaved noodles that sparked if left on too long, and built my company, one client at a time. That first Christmas I called home. The sound of laughter and toasts filled the room as my mother said they were having a simple meeting, a meeting I wasn't invited to. When Rudy and Corp signed my first 6-figure contract, the validation that changed everything, I considered calling them. But instead, I popped open a bottle of champagne with my 2 collaborators and toasted those who believe in themselves when no one else does. "Rachel? Are you there, Rachel?" Lucas snaps his fingers in front of my face. I blink, straightening in my chair. "Yes?" "We were talking about St. Bart's," Brittany says, twisting her diamond bracelet. "Lucas and I went in January. The Rothschilds were staying at our resort." I take a sip of water. 3 days ago, my mother's frantic phone call had broken our usual pattern of polite monthly conversations. "It's been so long, honey. We all miss you." Her voice carried that particular tone, the one that says more in silence than in words. But solitude is a powerful motivator, and a part of me, which I tried to hide, still longed for a seat at the family table. Now I see Lucas's Rolex gleaming as he gestures, a watch that costs more than the rent on my first office. Brittany's designer bag casually placed on an empty chair, the designer's logo facing outward. Their conversation drifts between exclusive vacation destinations and luxury purchases, with the restless energy of someone who's forgotten the next step in their action. I don't participate. I observe. The waiter arrives with the coffee, and I wrap my hands around the hot cup, taking in the theater around me. I'm going to indulge myself today, Lucas says, slamming the menu down decisively. The Wagyu steak, and let's have the 2015 Bordeaux, he tells the waiter without even checking the price. Life's too short to eat cheap food. Brittany nods excitedly. Lobster for me, and maybe we should start with champagne. It's a special occasion. We need to treat ourselves. One by one, they choose the most expensive items on the menu, exchanging knowing glances, thinking I'm not paying attention. My mother fidgets nervously with her napkin, knowing but uncomfortable. I hide a small smile behind my coffee cup as understanding sets in. Now I know exactly why I'm here. So I told the Andersons that beachfront properties in this market are practically free, Lucas says, swirling his wine with practiced elegance. They signed the paperwork that same afternoon. 2 hours. 2 hours of meticulously rehearsed conversation, flowing around me like water around a stone. Every time I try to speak, Lucas raises his voice, drowning out my words before they can gain a foothold. Nobody wants to hear about work talk. Over dinner, he interrupts when I begin to talk about our company's expansion into the European market. His hand makes a dismissive gesture in the air between us. We're here to talk about family matters. Family stuff. As if I weren't part of the family. As if what I've built with so much effort is somehow less important than the manufactured victories in real estate. I take a sip of water, mentally recording each slight. The waiter has already refilled my glass 4 times. My food remains, practically untouched. I watch. I listen. I learn. You look great for someone so busy with work, Brittany says, scanning my face for signs of fatigue to comment on. Do you actually leave that office sometimes? Before I can respond, she launches into a conversation about her self-care weekend, words like rejuvenation tumbling out naturally. My mother reaches across the table, lightly touching my wrist. Let's savor this moment, honey, she says with a tight smile. It's been so long. Whose fault is it? I almost ask, but I stop myself. Instead, I nod and cut a small piece of my untouched salmon. Oh, Lucas, tell Rachel about that new restaurant we went to last month, my mom says suddenly. The Italian one with the Murano glass chandeliers. I place my fork carefully on my plate. Last month? An uncomfortable silence falls. Brief but heavy. We try to do this monthly, Brittany says, eyeing her manicurist. Family dinner. It's a tradition. A tradition I'm just hearing. About now, I reply, the realization spreading like ice in my stomach. Lucas clears his throat. Well, you're always so busy, running your little business. The teasing hits exactly the mark. I straighten imperceptibly in my chair. Not too busy for the family, if I'm invited. My mother's eyes dart nervously between us. More wine for anyone? Lucas seizes the moment to change the subject. Speaking of business, he leans forward, his Rolex catching the light. The market has been brutal. 3 deals fell through last week. He looks at me knowingly. Not everyone can be swimming in success. I recognize the maneuver immediately. The suggestion of difficulty, the implication of necessity. That Mercedes you were looking at might have to wait, Brittany says, placing a gentle hand on his arm. It's a tough time to make big purchases. She turns to me. I've been trying to find something to replace my Audi, but everything is so expensive. My mom nods sympathetically before adding, Rachel has been so blessed, with her business taking off like this. Little by little, the plan becomes clear to me, elegant in its simplicity. The fancy restaurant, the exorbitant orders, the stories of financial hardship followed by mentions of my success. They didn't invite me to dinner. They asked me to pay the bill. The waiter approaches with precision, carrying the leather folder with the bill. Lucas exchanges a glance with him and gives a slight nod. The folder lands softly on the table, with a muffled thud. I don't pick it up right away. The silence stretches, charged with anticipation. $2,200, Lucas finally says, leaning back with a victorious smile. Thanks for dinner, Rachel. You don't mind, do you? We figured since you're doing so well. All eyes turn to me. My mother nervously twists her napkin. Brittany's smile is fragile, almost forced. Lucas exudes an arrogant confidence. My phone vibrates in my bag. I pull it out, seeing the screen. Meeting confirmed for 9 p.m. We've closed the Singapore contract. Celebrating at the office when you can. Diane. An image pops into my mind. Diane, my partner, who stayed up until 3 a.m., helping me finish our first major proposal. Miguel from development, who brought me soup when I had a fever and worked late to meet a deadline. Sarah, from legal, who believed in our vision enough to leave her position at a renowned firm. These people believe in my potential, celebrate my achievements, and support me through hardships. My chosen family. The contrast is stark and revealing. Blood ties do not guarantee loyalty, respect, or love. These things must be earned, cultivated through consistent action and mutual consideration. I take the bill slowly, examining it calmly. The entire table lets out a collective sigh, relief visible on their faces. My mother's shoulders relax. Lucas's smile deepens. Brittany adjusts her designer bag, already thinking about something else. I place the bill in front of Lucas. My voice, when it emerges, is soft but firm. I'm not your ATM. The silence is absolute. Lucas's face turns red. Brittany opens her mouth but says nothing. My mother is the first to recover. "Rachel, honey," she says, her voice soft, like when I was a child going through a hard time. "You can help a little, can't you? We're family." Family. The word hangs in the air, its meaning twisted until it loses its essence. To them, family means I give and they take. My success becomes everyone's property, while my struggles are mine alone. I look my mother in the eye. Yes, we are family, and that's why I deserve the same respect as anyone else here. The tremor begins in Lucas's hands, a slight vibration that runs up his arms as he realizes my refusal is real. $2,200 of carefully cultivated entitlement colliding with the fortress of my silent dignity. I stand up, grabbing my bag, not with anger or haste, but with the firmness of someone who asserts their worth, setting limits. With every step, the bill sits there, between us, imposing in its leather cover. The manager approaches, his smile practiced, but the tension visible. "Is everything okay here?" I noticed a certain concern, he says, looking at our tense faces and the untouched bill, trying to hide his discomfort. Inside, my emotions are swirling, but I keep calm. Anger, disappointment, and an unexpected pain for what our family could have been. "We've been planning this dinner for weeks," Lucas finally admits, his voice lowered, filled with frustration. "You never return Mom's calls. You're always too busy for family gatherings. What should we do?" "Ask," I reply calmly. "Don't manipulate." Brittany's facade begins to crumble. "You never show up to family things unless you have something to gain." The accusation hangs between us, but it's too ironic for her to notice. "When have I ever been genuinely invited?" I retort quietly. "The last 3 Christmases. At Dad's memorial anniversary. At your housewarming party. I was there, alone, while everyone else brought partners, and I was barely noticed." Lucas's mother dabs her eyes with her napkin. "We thought you wouldn't mind helping the family," she says softly, tears welling up. "Things have been difficult. I didn't know how else to ask." "Difficult how?" I press, already knowing the answer. Lucas and Brittany exchange a look. "I lost my job 3 months ago," Lucas says, staring at his plate. "The housing market tanked, and our company had layoffs." "He's been looking everywhere," Brittany adds anxiously. "But we have to keep up appearances. You understand that." I think of the Rolex he wears, the luxury travel photos Brittany posts, the designer bag perched on the chair next to him. "Our credit cards are maxed out," Brittany admits quietly. "All of them." Now everything falls into place, maintaining the facade of success while drowning in debt. And I'm the lifeline. I remember my science fair, where I won first place, with a solar energy project I designed. My parents weren't there. They were celebrating Lucas, who had passed the year with the lowest possible score. My graduation, with my valedictorian speech, politely applauded by my family, but with excessive attention paid to my cousin who, with a C average, was accepted into a state college. I worked 2 jobs to pay for college while they posted pictures of their family vacation in Cancun. Sorry, Rachel, you couldn't come. We know how dedicated you are. To your studies. The Christmas after I started my business, when Lucas loudly announced to the whole family, Rachel is playing entrepreneur now. Let's see how long it takes until she returns to the real world. At holiday gatherings, I arrived alone because work consumed my life, while everyone else brought their partners and welcomed them with open arms. Family dinners where my growing successes in the business world were deliberately ignored, changing the subject with practiced levity. Do you remember Thanksgiving 2 years ago? I retort quietly. Lucas seems confused by this sudden digression. I had just closed the deal with Westfield, which doubled my company's revenue overnight. When I mentioned it, you said, and I quote, "No one wants to hear about your little company at dinner, Rachel." "Oh, that was just a joke," he mutters, looking away. "What about Mom's 4th of July barbecue last year? When I mentioned we'd expanded into a new office downtown, you said I was trying to sound important and change the subject to Brittany's new car." My mother shifts uncomfortably, never having defended me from these moments of contempt. And now, my little company is what makes me the target of these requests for money? I tap the bill with a finger. Interesting timing. The manager approaches, his demeanor professional but with a clear sense of urgency. I apologize for the interruption, but we have other customers waiting. We need to settle the bill quickly. His politeness hides his visible discomfort. Lucas's frustration boils over. "Okay, you've already made your point. Pay half then." Brittany starts typing frantically on her phone, clearly trying to get emergency loans from friends. Judging by her panicked expression, the responses aren't favorable. "No one's answering," she whispers to Lucas. Lucas, growing desperate, takes out his wallet. He flips through it quickly. A membership card, an ID card, a single $20 bill. My mother opens her purse, her hands shaking as she searches for a credit card, but everyone knows he's already maxed out. The manager waits patiently, shifting on his feet as he watches. We need to resolve this now. My mother then pulls out a checkbook, so new it looks untouched. "Rachel, please," she says, her tone pleading. "Just this once." I think of all the times this has happened, all the occasions when the word, "just this once," was used to justify the gradual erosion of boundaries, the increased expectation that I would always meet their demands. "You asked, you pay," I reply calmly, meeting their gazes. "I'm only responsible for my coffee." I place a 10 real note on the table, 4 for the coffee, 6 for the waiter who had to witness this family drama. Lucas gripped the edge of the table. "Would you really let your own mother be humiliated like that in public?" "No," I reply, my voice sharper than I intended. "But I would let adults face the consequences of their choices." As I look at the $2,200 bill and the family who worked for weeks to manipulate me into paying it, I realize I already know my answer. "You'll regret embarrassing us like this," Lucas hissed, leaning across the table until I could smell the bourbon on his breath. His voice was low enough for other diners to hear, but loud enough for everyone at our table to hear. The facade of family warmth vanishes like dew in the warm morning sun. Brittany's eyes fill with perfectly timed tears. 2 drops run down her face, smearing her makeup but somehow not smudging her mascara. "I can't believe you would do this to your own family," she says, her voice cracking on the word family, with an irony she doesn't quite grasp. "After everything we've done for you." My mother fiddles with her ruby pendant, twisting it from side to side as her gaze avoids mine. The ruby catches the light with each nervous movement, creating tiny red reflections that dance on the tablecloth. "Rachel, please," she says, not meeting my eyes. "After everything we've done for you." The phrase hangs in the air between us, without a clear question. I search my memory for what, exactly, they did for me, besides offering a conditional love, full of demands, like puppeteers. Their trust, just minutes ago, the certainty that I would pay the bill, begins to crack like thin glass. The manager approaches again, his demeanor still professional, but with a touch of urgency. Sorry to interrupt, but other customers are waiting. We need to settle the bill now. I stand, grabbing my bag. Rachel. My mother stands too, trying to keep up with me as I leave the table. Her voice drops to a whisper. Please, rethink. Just this once. We can figure everything out later. I turn to face her. For the first time that night, her expression contains genuine emotion rather than a social performance. Fear is in her eyes. Not just the fear of the bill, but the fear of losing me. This isn't about money, I say, softly but firmly. This is about respect. I won't be used, not by family. Especially not by family. She flinches, as if I've physically struck her, but the words needed to be said. I stare at myself in the restaurant's ornate mirror as I turn. The woman I see stands erect, her eyes clear and full of certainty. For the first time all night, perhaps for the first time in years, I fully recognize myself. Tomorrow, I will be with my team, people who value my ideas, who collaborate rather than manipulate, people who have earned my respect rather than assuming it by blood. When I reach the door, my mother's hand grips my elbow. Please don't leave like this, she says, her voice softer than I've ever heard her. Her eyes, so similar to mine but filled with an uncertainty I recognize, search my face. I touch her hand, feeling the fragility of her skin, as if it's being consumed by time. This pattern needs to end, I say, softening my tone. I'm willing to talk. Just the two of us, when you're ready. But new rules need to be established. Respect, honesty, and no financial exploitation. She swallows, nodding slowly. Call me when you're ready, I add, squeezing her hand before letting it go. I push open the heavy glass door of Belmont's and step outside, feeling the cool night air welcome me. Behind me, the family drama still unfolds, but ahead of me stretches a night free of pressure, a future reclaimed, one step at a time. The door remains open, literally and figuratively, but only those willing to meet me on equal footing will be welcomed on the other side. My heels click on the asphalt as I walk toward my car. The night air feels lighter after the stifling atmosphere of the restaurant. I hear the restaurant door close behind me. Rachel? Lucas's voice echoes between the parked cars. I keep walking. My car key fob is in my hand, freedom just a few steps away. Don't you dare leave. He quickens his steps, approaching quickly. You're not part of this family anymore. The words are meant to hurt me, to make me stop. 5 years ago, maybe they would have worked. I slow my pace, but I don't look back. Look at me when I'm talking to you. I turn, my shoulders straight. Lucas's face is flushed under the fluorescent lights of the parking lot. Behind him, Brittany hurries to catch up, her high heels clicking on the pavement. A few customers still stand in the entrance, watching the drama unfold. You ungrateful. Lucas trails off, breathing heavily. Who do you think you are? I guess I'm someone who just wanted a normal family dinner. My voice is calm, a contrast to his growing agitation. Brittany comes in breathless. This isn't about dinner, and you know it. My mother appears at the restaurant door, hesitant. I see the indecision in her posture, torn between her nephew, niece, and daughter. Lucas runs his hand through his hair, a gesture that reminds me of my father, and for a moment, I'm disarmed. But then his expression changes, calculated concern replacing anger. Mommy has medical bills she can't pay, he says, his voice now low and urgent. We wouldn't have asked, but it's a serious situation. I look past him to my mother, who can't look at me. And then it all clicks. This dinner wasn't just about getting me to pay the bill. It was the beginning of a much larger financial request. "We wouldn't ask if we weren't serious," Brittany adds, her voice honeyed. "Family helps family, Rachel." A couple passes by us, slowing their pace, pretending not to hear. I wait until they've moved away. "There are better ways to ask for help than manipulation," I say softly. "If my mother has medical problems, I'd be the first to know." My mother finally approaches, her ruby red eyes reflecting the streetlights. "It's just a few tests, honey. It's nothing serious. Insurance covers most of it." The betrayal hurts more than Lucas's anger. She was in on this plan from the start, using her health as a bargaining chip. I take a deep breath, weighing all my family, history against what I'm experiencing. "Mom, if necessary, we can talk about this privately. I'll help with the legitimate expenses." "See?" Lucas bursts out. "She can pay—" I hold up my hand, interrupting him. "I wasn't talking to you." Brittany steps forward. "We're all family here." "Supporting family doesn't mean allowing bad behavior to continue," I reply. "Showing up tonight and finding out you've invited me to be your ATM isn't what family does." I pull a business card out of my purse and hand it to my mom. She takes it with trembling fingers. "Call me tomorrow. Just you," I tell her. I turn to Lucas and Brittany. "Figure out how to pay your bill tonight." "You can't be serious," Brittany stammers. "I am. And if my mother wants to discuss her medical needs honestly, I will consider helping. But I will not be manipulated again." I turn to leave, the weight of their gazes following me. "You think you're better than us now?" Lucas shouts, his voice echoing through the parking lot. I pause, pondering the question. Am I? With my successful business and financial independence, it would be easy to think so. But that's not the truth. I glance over my shoulder. No, just different, and that's okay. The simple truth drops like a stone into still waters. Lucas's mouth opens and closes in a wordless silence. Beside him, Brittany slumps onto a bench, her facade completely shattered. The energy she'd invested in keeping up appearances dissipates instantly. My mother stands frozen. Between us, her eyes darting between me, Lucas, and Brittany. I see the silent calculation in her gaze. Follow her daughter or stay with her niece and nephew. The tableau we've created is briefly illuminated by the headlights of a car pulling into the parking lot, exposing our family drama for all to see. "Rachel, please," my mother whispers, but doesn't move toward me. I nod once, silently accepting her choice. My number is on the card. As I walk to my car, I don't look back. The cool night. Air fills my lungs with every breath, and for the first time in a long time, I realize I'm not sad. I'm relieved. For the first time in years, I've spoken my truth without apology. My hand doesn't tremble as I unlock the car door. The woman reflected in the window seems firm, unwavering. Different, not better, and finally at peace with that difference. Inside the car, I allow myself a deep breath before turning on the ignition. As I pull away from Belmont's, I leave more than one dinner bill. Unpaid. I leave behind the weight of expectations I never agreed to carry. Tomorrow, my mother might call. Or she might not. Either way, I'll sleep soundly tonight. I stand, gazing at the city below, at the wall of windows in my office. 3 months have passed since Belmont's. 3 months of rediscovering what family means. The morning light reflects off the framed photo on my desk. Me, 22, exhausted but determined, sitting at that kitchen table that was my first office. I gently touch the frame, a silent acknowledgement of how far I've come. "Rachel?" Maya, my COO, appears in the doorway. "The team is ready whenever you are." I follow her into our conference room, where 6 faces greet me with something I've never encountered at that dinner table. Genuine respect. "Let's begin," I say, and the meeting moves along at its own pace, a collaborative flow where no one speaks over anyone else, where no one diminishes anyone else's ideas. Together we build, brick by brick. This is what I've created. Not just a business, but a community. "One sugar, right?" my mom asks, sliding the coffee toward me. I nod, watching her hands. Steadier now, a month later. We've turned our coffee dates into a monthly tradition. Baby steps. The bookstore hired me full-time, she says, a shy pride in her voice. The manager loved how I reorganized the history section. That's great, Mom, I reply, smiling. She hesitates a moment before continuing. I wanted to thank you for not giving up on me that night. The ghost of Belmont still looms among us, but it fades with time. I'm learning too, I admit, about where to invest my energy. Last week, my mom joined us for my birthday dinner, not at a fancy restaurant, but in Eliza's backyard. My college friend Eliza put up patio lights and made my favorite lasagna. My mom brought homemade brownies and easily integrated into the evening, laughing genuinely at Jordan's jokes and listening to Kim's stories about the struggles of starting the business. For the first time, I saw my mom without the shadow of Lucas and Brittany looming over her. Lucas got a job in Hartford, my mom says casually, as we walk through the park the following Sunday. Something in sales. The pay is lower, but he seems lighter? I nod, not surprised. We keep our distance, but I hear snippets from my mom. Brittany's Instagram no longer features photos of luxury trips or designer labels, but home-cooked meals and local trails. Their fall from grace was hard, but necessary. He asked about you, my mother says almost shyly. When he's ready for an honest conversation, he knows how to find me. I've accepted that the timing of this isn't in my control. Some relationships heal, others are broken. Both scenarios are acceptable. That evening, the aroma of garlic and rosemary fills my kitchen as friends move about with comfortable familiarity. My mother arranges the homemade breads in a basket, contributing rather than waiting. The wine's open, Eliza calls, pouring generously. We gathered around my table, not the expensive mahogany Lucas would have chosen, but a cherry wood table marked by the marks of past dinners. Each mark tells a story of laughter, of tears shared in good company, of midnight brainstorming. As the conversations intertwine and overlap, I realize what I've built here. Not the empty imitation of connection that existed in tense restaurant dinners, but something genuine. These people see me, not as a resource to be exploited, but as a whole person, with flaws and strengths. Later, my mother and I walk along the shore near my apartment, the sunset tinting the sea golden. When she stumbles on a rocky patch, I offer my arm without hesitation. I'm glad we found our way back to each other, she says softly. I help her along the uneven ground, supporting her without carrying her. Family isn't who you're born into, I tell her. It's who you choose to become together.